Chapter 2 echoes beneath the roots. The jungle whispered around them, but its voice had changed. Dolo moved cautiously, his muscles tense as if the air itself pressed against him. The familiar sounds of nocturnal life, chirps, rustles, distant howls, were muted, swallowed by a presence he couldn't name. The path they followed should have led them straight back to the crater's edge. Yet, with every step, the land beneath their feet seemed different. The earth felt warmer. The scent of wet moss thickened. The trees stretched higher, their leaves shimmering faintly with colors that had not been there before. Mako noticed it too. The older warrior's stride was stiff, his eyes sharp as they scanned the shadows. His axe handle creaked beneath his iron grip. "The jungle's wrong," he muttered, voice low and tense. "I've walked this path since I was a boy. The land doesn't shift like this, not without dark magic." The boy walked ahead, untouched by the unease that gripped the others. His steps were silent, his body swaying like the jungle itself welcomed him. He paused beside a tree and placed a hand against its bark. The trunk shuddered faintly, bark cracking as moss spread like veins beneath his palm. Mako stiffened, drawing his axe halfway from its sheath. What the hell was that? The boy turned his head, gold eyes glimmering beneath the moonlight. The tree was thirsty. I gave it mana. Mako's jaw tightened. Mana doesn't exist anymore. It does now, the boy said, voice soft but certain. Dolo shivered. He'd felt the change too, like the very jungle stirred from a long slumber. His gaze shifted between the boy and Mako, tension thickening between them like an unseen rope stretched to its limit. "Mako," Dolo said carefully, "lower the axe." Mako didn't move. His knuckles whitened as he stared at the boy. "Mana brings nothing but death. Wars. Shadow tribes. You heard the elders. It's poison." "It wasn't always," the boy said. His fingers trailed down the bark. "Before the cataclysm, mana was life. It healed the land, helped the tribes thrive. The shadows only came when people tried to bend it to their will." "That's how it always goes," Mako snapped. "Power makes people greedy, corrupt, and you—" He jabbed his axe toward the boy. "You're too calm, too sure. What are you really?" The boy's eyes softened with something like sadness. "I'm not your enemy." "That doesn't answer my question." "I don't fully know," the boy admitted after a long pause. "But I know I came from the world tree. I know I was sent to restore balance, and I know mana is part of me." "That makes you dangerous," Mako said. The boy tilted his head, golden eyes locked on Mako's. "Only if you choose to make me so." The boy turned away, walking deeper into the jungle. Dolo hesitated, then followed. Mako trailed behind them, muttering curses under his breath. The pressure in the air grew thicker with every step. The warmth returned, a soft, pulsing heat against Dolo's skin. Then, without warning, it surged. Dolo gasped as his vision blurred. The jungle faded into a wash of light and shadow. The warmth intensified, coursing through his veins like molten sunlight. The world shifted. He stood on a vast, endless plain of glowing threads, each strand pulsating with life. Gold, silver, and sapphire lines wove through the air, coiling into patterns too complex for his mind to grasp. He turned and saw Mako beside him, eyes wide in shock. The boy stood ahead, untouched by wonder or fear. His hand hovered over the threads. "This is mana," the boy said. "The threads of existence. It's always been here, just asleep." Mako stepped back, his chest heaving. "What is this? What did you do to us?" "I didn't bring you here," the boy said softly. "The mana did. It recognizes you. It wants to show you." "Show us what?" Dolo asked, voice trembling. The boy extended his hand toward them. The threads responded instantly, rising like glowing roots to coil around his fingers. That the world is waking up, and you need to wake up with it. Mako shook his head violently. Number, this isn't right. Mana killed our people. We can't trust this power. It wasn't the power, the boy said, voice laced with an ancient weight. It was the people who abused it. Mana is life. It doesn't choose sides. It only seeks balance. The threads shifted, coiling like a serpent through the boy's arm. Light gathered around him until his form blurred, replaced by something larger. A tree. The world tree. Its roots spread endlessly beneath them, weaving through the fabric of existence. Its branches stretched beyond sight, glowing with threads of mana that connected everything: earth, sky, life itself. From its heart, a single thread unraveled and drifted downward. Dolo recognized it immediately. The boy. The thread pulsed brighter as the voice came, deep and resonant. He is the first, the anchor, the avatar of mana. The light shattered. The jungle returned in a blink. Dolo collapsed to his knees, gasping. His skin burned as though the sun had seared through his veins. Mako fell beside him, groaning. His axe clattered to the ground. The boy stood untouched, watching them. Dolo forced his gaze upward. The avatar of mana. That's what you are? I think so, the boy said. Mana calls me that. I feel it, even if I don't fully understand what it means yet. Mako dragged himself up with a grunt. Number. No, this is all wrong. He pointed a trembling finger at the boy. We can't trust him, Dolo. The elders warned us about spirits like this. It's a trick, a shadow wraith, or something worse. Dolo wanted to deny it, but the weight of what they'd seen made his head spin. Then why did the mana show us the world tree? Dolo asked. Because mana's tricky, Mako said. It seduces. It makes you feel strong, connected, and then it rips your soul apart. Is that what you feel now? The boy asked softly. Mako froze. The warmth that had entered their bodies still lingered, a sense of vitality, clarity. The aches of their journey had lessened. The jungle was no longer simply a mass of trees and vines. Dolo could feel the pulse beneath his feet, the subtle shift of roots, the distant flow of a hidden stream. Mako's eyes narrowed. What did you do to us? I let mana touch you, the boy said. Just a little. So you'd understand. Mako's expression darkened. You invaded my body with that force. I showed you the truth, the boy said. Mana isn't evil. It's the lifeblood of the world, and you can feel that now, can't you? Mako's hands trembled. I don't want this. Take it back. The boy shook his head. Mana doesn't work that way. Once you're aware of it, you can't forget. It connects you to everything. Dolo felt it, an invisible tether stretching through the jungle, the roots beneath his feet, the faint vibration of insects' wings, the distant breath of sleeping wolves. It was intoxicating and terrifying. Mako's breathing quickened. You're dangerous, he hissed. The elders were right. Mana was never supposed to return, and now it has. Because of you. The boy lowered his gaze. I didn't ask to come here. Then why did you? Mako demanded. The boy hesitated. Because something is coming. A darkness. The world tree sent me to stop it. Darkness? Dolo asked. The boy looked up, eyes glowing faintly. The same shadows that destroyed the old world are stirring again. The shadow tribes didn't disappear. They only went dormant. Now that Mana's back, they'll come for it. The jungle had gone silent around them. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Dolo rubbed his temples. We have to tell the elders. Mako exhaled sharply. They'll try to kill him. You know that. Dolo grimaced. He did know. The elders saw mana as a curse, and now they'd come face to face with a child who claimed to embody it. The boy stepped between them. I don't want to fight anyone. I want to help. But if the tribe fears me, I'll leave. No, Dolo said, surprising himself. You came here for a reason, and you saved us from whatever that vision was. We need to understand this. Mako looked at him like he'd gone mad. You're risking everything for a stranger made of mana. Dolo met his friend's gaze. He's not a stranger anymore. Mako's jaw tightened. This is a mistake. Maybe, Dolo said, but if what we saw was true, then the war isn't over. It's just starting again. Mako stared at the boy for a long moment, then slammed his axe back into its sheath. Fine, but the moment he tries something, he pointed at the boy, he dies. The boy didn't flinch. I understand. They walked in silence, the jungle shifting subtly around them, as if the land itself watched the trio's passing. Mana had returned, and with it, so had the shadows.